Now we can hear about the update on the DAG community. We have Renate Behrens and Barbara Pfeiffer. Barbara is the head of the scripted cataloging section at the German National Library in Frankfurt and project manager for the project 3R for DAG Bibliotheken, for DAG libraries. Renate is a librarian in the Office for Library Standards in the German National Library. She's the head of the expert group for library standards in Austria, Germany, and German-speaking Switzerland, and a member of the IFLA cataloging section and the ISBD review group, and of course the European region representative to the RDA steering committee. So Barbara, Renate, when you want.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roberto.
I'm sorry for this delay.
Barbara is sharing the slides, and I will start to give you a short overview of our RDA Post 3R project in German-speaking countries. I just want to give you a bit of an overview of the framework in which we are doing this project. And Barbara, she's coming from practice, and she will give you an overview of the works we did in between these projects. To start with this, you know what DAG means, it's an acronym, and the organizational framework of us, is a strong and very well developed cooperative way of working in the German-speaking region over many years, and we're working together with several types of libraries, and we started to have cooperation with archives, and museums will come later on. Please, the next slide. This shows you a bit how it looks like. We have on top, we have a Committee for Library Standards, and as I started to say just before, this committee is concerned, as the name says, with library standards, but it's in a huge opening process for further cultural institutions. We have members of archives in the Committee for Library Standards for the time being. Museum deputies will join us later on. So there will be a big change in the next. If we can go back, Barbara, just an instant, doesn't matter. You can see here we have 3 huge expert groups for cataloging, for data formats, and for our GND, our authority file. And we have since 7 years expert groups on special resources and special materials. I listed them up for you here. That's the topics we are concerned with concerning special resources, and all these works and expertise coming together in a special platform for all working groups. Now we can come to the next slide. I just listed you up here the working principles of the Committee on Standards and all its working groups. As I mentioned, it's a huge and well-developed cooperation. We try to be in accordance always with national and international standards. We have a really strong focus on data exchange in German-speaking countries. New is this focus on other cultural institutions, and their authority data has to be mentioned, especially because this is the linking point we're having with all cultural institutions. Please, the next slide. As I mentioned, the compatibility of standards is a very important topic for us. I listed on the left side some we are working with in libraries, but we try to make them compatible and to link them to standards for further cultural institutions. But this is just a work we started in the last years, and there's many work ahead of us. The next slide, please. This you're very familiar with. It's the toolkit switch over at the end of last year, and what it brought to us. You know, all the problems new RDA or RDA with the new toolkit brought to us and to our communities. There are many concerns, many problems. We try to solve some of them, but I can notice, or we can notice that our special communities here, they welcome very much the more open approach of RDA, or of the new toolkit, and it makes it easier for them, much more easier to find cross-cutting solutions. Next slide, please. So we had, what was the initial situation for the decision in the German-speaking region? We has to the reconceptualization regarding structure and design in the RDA toolkit. You know, it's very much different than it was before. There is the introduction of the new concepts, as you all know very well, diachronic works and aggregates, which are coming from IFLA LRM. And these concepts, we analyzed and proved them for a long time and very intensively, but they are new for most of us, even for our experts. They are challenging, they need to be understood, trained, and the result of our analysis was that it do not bring any advantages for indexing in practice as it is today, as it is now. We're not talking about the future. So next slide, please. This brought us to an official decision, because we need to have an official decision undergo for such a project. And this was the decision of the Committee in Standards. You can read it here. It's the conception and creation of a cataloging handbook for libraries in the DACH region on the basis of the changed RDA regulations by the expert group on cataloging. And this is, I would like to underline, the intention is to simplify existing regulations as much as possible if we can. These had some impacts. We will not have further on full translation of the toolkit, but we translated the glossary and the definitions of the RDA registry into German. But this is, you can see from this official decision from the Committee on Standards, we in the first step, we're trying to have a very small and practical approach to implement our new RDA in our environment, in our community. Next slide, please. So and that I will hand over to Barbara, which is the head of this project, and she can give us the real insight into this project. Barbara, please continue.
Yes, thank you very much, Renate, and thank you very much for invitation and for you building the bridge to our project goals. Hello to everyone here in the auditorium. The project 3R for Dach libraries, in German 3R für Dachbibliotheken. What goals we have? First of all is conception and creation of a cataloging manual or cataloging handbook for libraries. Our focus are in this project, the libraries in the Dach region. Dach is standing for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland on the basis of the changed RDA regulations and elements. We want to look to the new or to the element set in the 3R or in the official toolkit. We want to simplify existing regulations as far as possible, because our users, our catalogers say some regulations are too not understandable or too difficult. And we don't want to change our cataloging practice and our environment in this step, and we want to have as few as possible changes in our new cataloging handbook and in our practice. And we want to create or write down only for the most important use cases and catalog the regulations in our handbook. The project is still running from March 2020 and we will end in December 2022. And we worked in the Confluence Wiki of the DNB. At the end of my project presentation, I will show you one template site in our Confluence Wiki, but our goal, our aim is to implement all the results in a Wikibase environment as part of the DACH documentation project. We want to bring over all documents in one document Wikibase environment. We have the following work packages: the project management, the conception of the manual is still completed, and now we are in the work package 2, creation of the manual. We started in April. We have another work package, the application profile for DACH. Renate will present this after my presentation. We will have a training concept, but we can start in only next year. And then we have a work package follow-up formulation of further tasks that will be necessary. What advantages we have with this handbook? We have a common manual for all RDA users in the DACH region with all RDA rules, our DACH policy statements and the DACH explanations now in the toolkit, but we will bring them together in the handbook on one place in the text, and we will choose examples especially for the German cultural language needs. So we think it's more practical for the users. We link to the new toolkit in the manual. We can adopt the new regulations or concepts later. This is a very big advantage for us because we want to discuss and think about the new concepts. We discussed in the chat, the aggregates, the diachronic work, the manifestation statements, and so on. And we can put them later in practice. And the modular documentation in the Wikibase environment enables an efficient use and linking of text. We want to avoid redundant texts. And the manual will also serve as a training tool, but this will be developed. We not yet started with it. The structure of the manual is a little bit similar to the toolkit. We write element descriptions based on the new toolkit, and as I mentioned, all in one place with the policy statements. The next part are guidelines with topics such as recording and transcribing, information resources, or when do I need a new description in cataloging. And the third part are the resource types like monographs, multi-part monographs, serials, graphic materials, music resources, and so on. Here you can see a very small our element description. We create a template, and when we look to the next slide, here we can see all in German all rules transcribed from the old toolkit, our DACH policies, but we look to the new toolkit if there are rules that could be simplify our cataloging environment, our cataloging practice now. So Renate, it's yours. I can give to you the application profile part.
Thank you, Barbara. Application profile is a topic we are talking about since many years. Since the first implementation of RDA in DACH in 2014-15, we worked with a very simple version of an application profile, which was a very small list, just a paper sheet to be printed out, where our catalogers found the elements as a minimum description and further recommendations. And so it made sense for us to have a work package application profile in the new project, in the actual 3R, post 3R DACH project. It's part of the handbook and manual project. Since 2000, or this year, since this year, we have a first draft for a minimum set. It's a very first and small draft. It describes the elements that must be recorded in order to be designated as recorded according to RDA. And it's just, as I said, a starting point. We will update this first draft of an application profile according to the going ahead of the manual project. I tried to give you an insight of this. These will be at the next slide. So it's an Excel sheet, but as Excel sheets are not very good to show in presentations, I tried to break it down here. As an example, the example is the element place of publication. You can see here the information that is recommended and the information that is recommended for place of publication. So the entity for place of publication is manifestation. The name of the element, you see, we are listing up the number from the original toolkit. The type of the element, which you can see is named like in the former description as a core element, because our catalogers are used to this terminology. We have the element name in German. We have, here's an example. In this example, place of publication, we have listing up special conditions. For example, for national libraries, it's you have to give information to all places of publications. The next slide's going on the next slide. It's continuing. We have information about the recording method, which is in this case not yet defined. If there is a vocabulary encoding scheme, we provide a link to the RDA registry. Again, here special conditions that we are having. We have a small column for comments, and the information for what is really a minimal description is not yet defined. Just as an example to show you that we started to have an application profile again under the new environment, because our catalogers are used to having this, and an application profile, especially for a minimum set, is important for our data exchange. So we are coming to the next slide. Yes, for us, we told you, Barbara and I told you so much about what we're doing in the German-speaking community, and it's true. Our first step is to bring the changes and the new developments in RDA into our practical work. It's especially adapted to the needs of our community itself in the DACH region, but we are still it's just the first step. I would like to underline this. This does not mean that we will never think about the new concepts, and we always will have a look at the international development of the standard itself. And I think we had a small discussion beside in the chat, how can we work more together, and does it make sense? And I think it makes definitely sense to work more together, starting in Europe, in the European level, but internationally, about these new concepts. That what I learned in the last month and today again is that the new concepts are hard to understand and hard to bring them in practical cataloging, everyday cataloging. So Barbara and I, we are very happy to have questions or comments from your side. We are happy if we can work together in whatever way. We have to decide this and talk about this, but we would be very happy to have discussion about this, what we are doing, what you're doing, and how we can come together in this way. Thank you for listening, and yes, if you have questions. I think in the chat there are. question I see here from Diana, question for Barbara and Renate. Would it be possible for an external person to look at the DACH wiki?
Not yet, but we can. We have a group password, and we can do that. But Renate, you have to decide how can we do that. Excuse me.
I'm thinking about this. It's not at the moment, and just I can give you free access to our whole wikis. That's not possible for the time being, but I try. If there's an interest, please let me know. If there is an interest to have information what we are doing, and as I said before, we're very much interested to have your input. Then I will have, together with our IT department, I will find a way that you can have a look, or some people can participate or something like this. Just let us know. We will find a way, because we are so much interested in the exchange, especially from your experience, how it works for trainings, are there problems? Because for all of us, we're doing this for the first time, so let us learn from each other. And so please let me know if you're interested, Diana, especially you and others as well, and we will find a way.
The next question is, does the wiki contain links into the RDA toolkit?
Yes.
Yes.
In our working environment, the Confluence wiki will link to the RDA toolkit on element level, and in the Wikibase environment, we will do the same.
Thank you. The next question, are you preparing a unique handbook or application profile for all kinds of resources, or as many as type of resources? So
Like
one or many?
Barbara, do you would like to answer?
I think it's a question to the application profile, or we can. I can add in the handbook. We will bring in all rules for music, for cartographic resources, for still images, for law material, and so on. Like the original toolkit has them in it. The content is, and but I don't know how many, not all, as many as we can resources, I will say. We will describe a lot of resources, I think, but it will be on development after the project ending, so we can add resource descriptions as we want.
Yes, and perhaps if you could remember the slide that I provided, this organizational overview of our working groups. We have 8 working groups for special resources, and some of them, they just in the original toolkit, they are providing policy statements for music, for example, for old books or something like this. We will continue with this. We will transfer the policy statements for special resources from the original toolkit into our handbook. We have these foreseen. We will do this. We are in the phase of transferring them and to overwork them and to adapt them. And all of our special working groups, they are working on basis, especially the newer ones like provenance, or art books. They are working on basis of the new toolkit, of the existing toolkit now, and they will provide their information on top in the handbook, and as well as application profiles for their needs. What I showed you is just the mother of an application profile. There will be a family of application profiles. What we developed so far is just an application profile for simple manifestation, and we will add all the other things, and there will be an application profile for, let's say, images, graphic things, and so on. And some of our working groups are working on this. They're just first drafts for graphic material, for art books, for old books, and so on.
And thank you to Heidrun Wiesenmüller. You mentioned that the Wikibase environment will be open for all users
Yeah.
worldwide.
Yes.
That's our aim.
Okay. So thank you, Renate and Barbara.